can't make it are able to watch it later. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody and welcome Professor Murphy. We're really excited to have our first meeting this semester and have our very own advisor, Professor Murphy, talk to us just about her journey, her life, anything else that she wants to let us know. So
the good, the bad, and the ugly?
All of it. We want to know all of it. So yeah, the floor is yours. Feel free to share your screen if you want. If not, no big deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sarah, can I share my screen?
Of course. Do you have the ability to? I think you should.
Yeah, hang on, let me look.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Awesome.
Okay, bear with me for a second. Have I lost anyone yet? No, we're at 11. Okay. In 15 minutes, it'll be down to 8 people, just like class, right? Okay, so can you guys see my screen? Give me a nod. Could you guys turn on your cameras? Thank you, Rachel. I require it in class because I hate just talking to your names. Hi, folks. Good to see you. If I have to be on camera, then you all have to be on camera, damn it. Yay. And it's okay if a child or a pet or whomever, and several of you are driving, be careful. It's okay if someone comes on the screen. That's usually my favorite part of class. Anyway, so thank you guys for asking me to speak today. I put together a little PowerPoint because if you know me and you've had me in class, you know when there's PowerPoint, I just can't stop talking. But it also keeps me on track. But I was giving a lot of thought as to what I wanted to tell you guys, because obviously, you know, it's women in business and you hear from professional, successful women in business, and that's important. I want you guys to learn from leaders and you know, people who have worked hard to get to the top of whatever, and I think that's really important, and folks that we can all learn from. My journey's different. What motivates me is a little bit different, and so I thought that I would share that with you, not to, I don't know, not to be different from anyone else, but just to show, like, okay, you can still be a successful professional woman, you know, and you don't always have to be all the way at the top. I don't want to be at the top. Those folks work a lot. So I'm just going to share with you my pathway, and you can see what you think. All right, I made fancy PowerPoint. Can you see the picture in the background? How cool is that? Okay, hang on. There we go. All right, so as I was putting this together this morning, it dawned on me that some of what I had to say took place in the last century. So I had to point that out for y'all. You weren't even a thought in your parents' minds, right? But I, on the other hand, was graduating from college, right? So I was like you guys. I was, what, 21, 22 years old. I was a business student as an undergrad. I graduated from the amazing business school just down the road from us, right? So I went to Purdue University and graduated from Krannert. After graduation, I moved to Chicago and I started a career in human resources, like maybe some of you are considering doing. So far, a very typical path, right? For someone straight out of undergrad and straight out of a business school. I worked in human resources for a few years. My first job in HR was at the Chicago Hilton and Towers, huge hotel, downtown Chicago, really cool place. I worked there for a while, and then eventually I landed at the University Club of Chicago. And for those of you who don't know what the University Club of Chicago is, basically it's like a hotel. It has hotel rooms and it has restaurants and all that type of stuff, but it's a private club. So it's like a hotel / country club, I guess you would say, but it's in the downtown Chicago. And for members only, but members would go in there and have lunch and dinner, and they could stay the weekend, and they had weddings and stuff like that. So it was still in hospitality. And I was the director of human resources. Fancy, right? Big deal. So that brings me to lesson number 1. Fancy titles, right? I was the director of HR at the University Club of Chicago at the age of 25. That sounds like a big deal. But the truth is, fancy titles don't always mean fancy jobs. I liked my job there. And yes, I was the director of HR. But what that doesn't tell you is it was a one-person office. Me. So while I was the director of HR, I also filed all the paperwork for HR. I picked up the mail. I was involved with, employee discipline 1 minute, and I was doing orientation the next minute. And then, like I said, I was filing the rest of the afternoon because I had to, I had this stack of paperwork. So while, yeah, I got to do some pretty cool stuff, at the same time, I spent a lot of time doing really mundane, basic stuff. So yeah, don't judge a job by its title, okay? The other thing is that fancy titles don't always make you happy. I really liked some parts of my job, specifically the employee development and training and mentoring, the coaching aspect of HR. I loved that. Obviously, you can kind of see how that folds into my professional path. I didn't love benefits administration. I did not love, handbooks and rules and policies and all that type of stuff. So working in HR for those years really helped me figure out what I enjoyed and what I didn't. So I took kind of a big jump then, and I quit. Right? I quit my job. I was having more bad days than good. And for me, that's the measure. A couple good days here and there is great, but when the bad days start to outnumber the good days, it's not worth it, at least for me, right? So I quit my job and I applied to grad school. Well, I applied to grad school before I quit my job. I'm not a fool. So I applied to grad school and I quit my job at the age of 25. And I started working part-time as a graduate assistant at Northwestern University, just north of Chicago. Graduate assistantship basically pays tuition, but nothing else, right? So it was great because it paid my tuition, but I had no income coming in. Fortunately, I had also recently gotten married, so my husband was working. So, while I didn't have any income coming in, he did. I'm not going to say we were, living the life of luxury. But that's the choice we made, right? So I was working at Northwestern University and taking classes at night. And that's where lesson number 2 comes in. Not every step you take is going to look like it's going forward, right? I went from the director of HR to a graduate assistantship paying me something like $7,000 a semester. But sometimes in life and in your career, you got to take a step back and pivot, right? Sometimes you mean to, and sometimes you don't. But that's another lesson that I learned. And you'll see, I have to do it again later on down the road. Have I lost you? Are you bored? We good? All right, cool. Jacqueline, keep your eyes on the road. I can see you. Okay. So it was a good move for me because even though, like I said, I took a step backwards, I went from a fancy job to a very not fancy job, right? And going to class in the evening. But very quickly, I got offered a full-time position at Northwestern, which is what I wanted to be doing, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. I shifted careers. I changed, right? So I accepted a full-time position in their university career services. I was an assistant director. Everyone else there had their graduate degrees except for me. That's one thing with higher ed. You'll find we all have a ridiculous amount of degrees. So I was still, finishing up my studies in the evening, but I was working full time in the profession. I was, busy, but happy as can be, right? Dream job, dream city, life was good. I was very, very happy. Look at, I took a picture of Chicago, and there's Northwestern's seal or whatever that thing is called. I could have been like, I thought I was going to be there forever. And then my husband was transferred to Boston. Guess who quit her job again, right? So I'm like, okay, dream job, dream city, but my husband's leaving it. So fortunately, I was able to land on my feet in Boston. Lots of universities there, right? So I accepted an assistant director position there. Basically, it was like a lateral move. I started working at Boston University, which is an incredibly cool place. I was in the School of Management at Boston University, and I was like, hey, I was a business student. I understand business students. Now I'm doing academic advising. This is super fun, right? The School of Management at BU is, I don't know, block and a half from Fenway Park. It was just a really, really cool place to be, cool time in my life, right? So I worked at BU for many years. I was in academic advising for a while, and I got promoted because I worked hard, right? Tried not to burn too many bridges. And I then became the associate director, and I ran our MBA programs. I ran the DBA program, which is a doctor in business administration. I supervised all of the professional staff, the academic advisors and support staff. So I was no longer working with students when I was the associate director, but I was in charge of a whole bunch of crap, right? I was in charge of a whole bunch of people, and I really liked it. And I was good at it. Dream job, dream city, right? Here I am again. And I have their life is pretty good. We were happy. I liked my job. I liked the people that I worked with. Loved BU, still do. I like Northwestern too. But Boston, we always knew it was never going to be home. It just didn't have that feel. I loved it, and we've got great friends there, but it always felt like we were there for a short period of time. I mean, 7 years right now, that seems like a short period of time. For you guys, that probably seems like forever. But yeah, so things were going well. And then my husband is transferred again. Dun, 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 right? He's transferred to Indianapolis, which was very exciting for us. Because we went to school at Purdue. We knew people here. We knew the area. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to move somewhere and I automatically have friends. I don't have to do that awkward meet people. I know people. So we were really, really happy about that. Even though it's no Boston and it's no Chicago, I've got a place in my heart for Indy, right? Problem is, it was 2009. You all may not remember what was happening in 2009, but I do. We were in the middle of a recession. When I left BU, they had a hiring freeze. They were not able to hire for my open position, right? I quit. They weren't able to hire for my position, I don't think until the following year, because the economy was not looking very good. It was not looking very good at all, right? And so I enter the job market here with not only very few options. I mean, if you work in education and higher ed and you move to Indianapolis, where are you going to work? You got IUPUI, you've got Butler, which is like this big, right? So they have like 4 positions. University of Indianapolis, same challenge, not a lot of opportunities. Could I drive up to Ball State? I really don't want to, right? So, I mean, not a lot of options. And then on top of it, a lot of places were not hiring. It was kind of a tough time to move. And Indianapolis is not a huge hub of universities. So I accepted a position at Cali. It was an assistant director position with career services again. Basically the exact same position that I had left Northwestern doing 10 years prior. Was I overqualified? Yeah. Did I take a hell of a pay cut? Yeah, I did. But for me, I needed to get back to work. You know, I'm not the type of person who always has to get the highest position, the highest salary, the highest everything, but I want to work. I want to contribute. I want to do my thing. And this is what was available at the time. And so I took it. And you know what? I knew I'd be happy because I've done this before at Northwestern, you know, back at the turn of the century. So I knew what I was getting into. I knew I enjoyed the job. I had to swallow my pride a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. But at the same time, this position had one small angle that none of my other positions had had before. And it included the opportunity to teach as an adjunct. I'd never taught a class before. And so I was like, well, I'm taking a step back in my career, right? Remember lesson number 2? Not every step is a step forward or an obvious step forward, right? But I got the challenge to teach. I got the opportunity to teach, and I'd never done that before. So again, I'm smacked with lesson number 2 again. But there's also lesson number 3, which is do what you enjoy. Things have a tendency to work out. And I knew I enjoyed working with students, advising students, and I was super excited about the opportunity to teach. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I did. And guess what? Things worked out. I did career services for a few years, and then I was offered a full-time faculty position, which, you know, is now obviously where I am in my career. A step forward, right? So now I teach full-time. I coordinate X204, which means that I hire all the faculty who teach X204, and I develop the syllabi, and I kind of coach and mentor and advise them on how to teach their classes, right? And back in dream job, life is good, at least for now, right? So that's been my journey. It's not sexy. It's not like, oh, I beat out all these white men to get my position. No, it hasn't been. But, you know, that kind of leads me to lesson number 4. You know, like I said before, I think as women in business, at least in the beginning, I felt some pressure to achieve. And I'm not saying I haven't achieved. Obviously, I wouldn't be in my position right now if I was, you know, horrible, right? But, you know, getting from a school like Purdue or IU or any of these top, I mean, heck, I worked at Northwestern, I worked at Boston University. There's a lot of pressure on us as women in business to achieve and succeed and, you know, be this powerful vocal leader. And don't get me wrong, that's important. And that's really meaningful for a lot of people. And if that's you, if that's what motivates you, and if that's what you want to do in your career, then good for you. And I will support you every step of the way. But I think it's also important to recognize that success doesn't mean the same thing to every person. And it doesn't have to. And that your definition of success will probably change throughout your career, just like mine has, right? And to recognize that, you know, however you define success for yourself, that's all that matters. And so, I'm back in my third dream job or fourth, I don't know. At the time, it's the dream. It's the time. It's what I want to do. And if you define what success means for you, try to block out all the other folks who are telling you what it should mean. You have to go get your MBA. You have to do this. You have to do that. Chart your own path and choose happiness. Successful will come. And I don't mean necessarily monetarily. I don't mean necessarily that fancy title, right? But I mean fulfillment and happiness and a place where, you can make a difference. So that's my last lesson. Define success for yourself. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Is someone else going to talk? I don't usually talk this much without anyone else talking.
Well, here is a chance for other people to talk. So questions, if anyone has any questions or comments, I know I have some, but I'll let other people talk first since I've been talking the whole time. Me and Professor Murphy have. So anyone else have questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself or type them where you can talk.
I have one.
Uh-oh.
So with you were talking about how you don't let other people, you don't let other people determine your success, and I struggle with this a lot because I seek validation from people a lot. What are your tips or ways that you my dad's my biggest influence in my life, and he wants me to be the best I can be, but at the same time he's saying happiness and stuff, that's really important too, and success will follow. How do you just navigate not seeking that big title or constantly needing to be successful? I don't know how I'm trying to phrase it, but
No, Jacqueline, I get what you're saying. And to be honest with you, at my age now, super easy for me to say. When I was 22, I didn't know enough about what motivated me to really be able to articulate, or, all I knew is when I graduated college, my dad basically said, all right, it's time for you to get your MBA. Right? How many of you guys have heard that from your parents or from other people? All right, you graduate from college, it's MBA. And deep down in my gut, I just knew I couldn't do it yet. I couldn't. And I'm glad I resisted, and I'm glad I said no, because had I gotten my MBA, I wouldn't, and especially at that time, I wouldn't have gotten the experiences that I've gotten since then. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have learned as much about myself struggling in HR. And I don't mean struggling in terms of financially or about to lose my job, but I mean in terms of is this what I really want to do? Am I happy? And so how do you do it? I don't know. I mean, I resisted that pressure from my parents. I ended up going to grad school a few years later, but I was much more sure about that decision and therefore much more motivated. I was like, HR wasn't the route for me. I know what I liked, I know what I didn't like, and this is what I enjoy doing. And so I'm going to go down this development, training, coaching, educational pathway. And I think as you get older and as you experience more, you figure it out and you trust your gut a little bit more. But like I said, at the age of 22, I don't think I wouldn't have been so clear. And I'm not saying that you're not going to be clear because you're 22. I'm just saying for me, I needed to experience some of those struggles, those internal struggles myself, to really realize I need to change the direction I'm going in. That's not an answer. That's not tips. It's just, that's my experience. I think sometimes you need to struggle. You know what I mean? If you don't, and I say this when I used to teach the first year seminars, I would say it in class all the time. It's if you don't struggle, you usually don't learn. If everything's easy in life, if academics are easy, it tells me you're not being challenged, right? If your life is easy, if you get every job you apply to, if you, don't get me wrong, maybe it means you're working hard, but usually you learn the most when you struggle. You learn the most about yourself when you struggle. And so whether I meant to or not, I let myself struggle. And boy, oh boy, did I learn. So I guess that's my advice. Get uncomfortable. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, well, I'll go ahead with one of mine. So I know you said, like you said, everything that you did led you to where you are today. So do you have any regrets or anything you wish you would have done differently?
That's a good question. I have to think about that for a minute. I could probably say not follow my husband around the country, but that would have caused different problems.
Yeah, might have.
Do I have any regrets about choices that I've made in my career? I mean, there's some opportunities I didn't take that make me wonder. You know what I mean? And there's always the big money thing, contrary to popular belief, or maybe not, most of your faculty aren't bringing in gazillions of dollars, and so if I went to work for a corporation or something, I'm sure I could make a lot more money and that might make life easier or something. But again, that doesn't motivate me. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're all motivated. Like if someone says, hey, do this for $1 million, I might do it, but that's not deep down what motivates me. I mean, I have to think about that. But no, I mean, because everything has led, the good and the bad has led me to where I am. So if I had made different choices, I may not be where I am today. And I'm quite content where I am today. I'm challenged. I have fun with undergrads. Undergrads are way more fun than doctoral students, let me tell you. I really don't think I do. And I joked about not following my husband around the country, but you know what? I've lived in some really cool cities and I've done some really cool things and I have friends around the country because of it. So even though those moves were hard, I mean, you pick up and you move your family and when we moved to Boston, we didn't know a soul. I had 0 friends. For a while, I made some, but that was hard. It's hard to move across the country at the age of 28 or 29, how old? 29 and not know anybody. And so yeah, I mean, it was hard, but I don't regret it. It was cool and I enjoyed it and it's all led me to where I am now. So no, I don't think I do. I have to think a little bit more.
That's okay. I think that's encouraging to hear though, because like you said, everything, has led you to where you are right now and you're content. So yeah, I think that's encouraging.
No, I never used, because I'm not, if you've had me in class, you probably have recognized this, even though it's something I don't talk about. I'm not a religious person. I don't necessarily believe that there's a higher power, greater force that's kind of leading us all to everything. But I do believe in karma. Only in too much evidence of it to ignore it. You know what I mean? And I do believe that things tend to work themselves out. I mean, there have been jobs that when I first moved to Boston, there was an amazing job at MIT. Amazing job at MIT. And I was one of 2 finalists for that job, and I didn't get it. And that hurt my confidence for a while, because I was one of 2 finalists, and you know what I mean? I had interviewed round after round after round, and I thought for sure I nailed that final interview, and they gave it to somebody else. And that was hard. And it was really hard to have faith that it's like, okay, you know what? Things happen for a reason. Mother Earth or karma or somebody, things happen for a reason. And you know what? I landed in a fantastic place. So it can be hard to be faithful about that. It can hard to, see the big picture through a disappointment like that. It still stings a little bit. That was like in 2002. Anyway, but you know what? I have to believe that things happen for a reason. And if you work hard and you do good, it'll all work out in the end. And it has. Those folks at MIT don't know what they're missing.
Sure don't. Well, we're glad that we have you. So.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet.
You're welcome. So I kind of switching directions a little bit. So you mentioned, business communications. I know some people on here are freshmen or sophomores or maybe haven't taken it. Do you think, and I know, Jacqueline and I talked about how much we loved it. I had a different professor, but she had you, and can you just maybe briefly talk about it, and maybe like your favorite parts of it, or
Yeah, absolutely. So how many of you guys have not taken X204 yet? Oh, only one person. Oh, 2 people. Okay. So X204, it's, contrary to popular belief, it is not a communications course. X204 is I describe it as a strategy course, how to ensure that your communications, the way that you present yourself, in person, in email, any way that you present yourself to other people is not harming your reputation, is not negatively impacting your credibility. I mean, that's what it's all about. And so in business communications, we talk about strategies for how to make sure that you come across basically as an honest and decent person. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of times when folks are freshmen and sophomores, they don't always recognize. Maybe it's because of the limited experience, and so I was probably the same way. Again, for me, it's so long ago, I don't remember what I thought. But when you're 18, 19 years old, I don't think you always realize how important it is to develop good relationships with other people. And I don't mean that in a way that you have to be best friends with everybody. God knows I'm not best friends with everybody that I work with, right? Or my students for that matter. Right, Jacqueline? But it's so important that whoever you work with trusts you and believes that your intentions are good. Even, it's just your reputation for being a trustworthy person is so important, especially the further you get along in your career. You're not going to be included in meetings if people don't trust you. You're not going to be sent to clients' offices for projects if people don't trust you. You're not going to be given extra work, extra responsibility, extra opportunities, which lead to promotions and things like that if people don't trust you. And so business comm, it's in the way that I teach it, it's all about strategies for and recognizing how to show people that you are trustworthy, no matter what you have to say or do. And sometimes you have to say and do things that are not fun, like firing people, like disciplining people, like giving them a bad performance review, right? You have an employee who's not doing very well. You have to talk to them about it. How do you do it in a way that makes them not hate you? Easier said than done sometimes. So that's what business comm is all about. That's what X204 is all about. And that's the approach that I take to the class. Does that help, Sarah? Or anyone who hasn't taken it?
Did anyone have any questions on that? It's a pretty fun class. I mean, I took it 2 years ago.
You had Professor Clemens, right?
I did, yeah.
She is thebomb.com.
She is awesome.
I love her. I'm always like, how many sections do you want? Because you can have as many, because students love her and she does such a good job. So I like whatever she wants, I will give to her because she's such a good teacher. You know what I mean?
She is.
And since I run the show,
right?
Like I reward the people who do a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we've talked about
Sorry, Professor Clemens is excellent.
She's awesome. I know Lauren Gross and I had her in, I think it was sophomore year, maybe it was freshman year, I can't remember. And I mean, we probably stayed in contact with her for, another year or two, and then COVID hit, so I didn't see her in the hall anymore. But yeah, she was great. And I still remember some of the assignments, some of the things we did. And I mean, it was very applicable to, my career and just in general. Like I learned so much. So yeah.
Awesome. Great. That's awesome to hear.
Great. Any other questions for Professor Murphy?
Do you have any other tips for us college students, just maybe on your own experience or things you wish you would have done?
Sorry, Margot, I'm thinking. In terms of undergrad, like kind of how to work your way through college. Yeah. I had a lot of fun as an undergrad. I'll be the first one to admit that. Don't get me wrong, I was a good student. I mean, I wasn't straight A's, but I was a good student. I got a job after college and everything like that. But I also had a lot of fun. And I am still in touch with many of my college girlfriends. And I married my college sweetheart. Grades are important. Take your studies important, right? Like take them seriously. Do not let your GPA fall below a 3.0, but have fun. It's, you know what I mean? Spend time with your friends. Do stuff that you won't otherwise have the opportunity to do. If you can study abroad, that was one of my regrets. I never studied abroad as a student. I think I was worried about missing out on a semester with all my girlfriends, right? I mean, like I was having a good time. But I do regret that because that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And that's probably why I developed and teach a study abroad course now, because I like it, right? But, everyone always says, oh, get experience, get an internship, get good grades. Don't get me wrong. That stuff is absolutely important. But as long as you've got a handle on that stuff and you're doing okay, have some fun, date some people, go out with your friends, right? Just don't videotape or take pictures of anything. God, don't post stuff on the internet. But yeah, my advice is enjoy, because once you start working full time, those opportunities are fewer and fewer. Your friends will scatter and everyone's busy. And then people start getting married and all, it's like, have some fun while you can. Did you think I was going to say that?
No, but I mean, maybe. I don't know. Thank you, though.
Everyone always said, remember, I worked in career services at 2 major universities, Northwestern University and now Indiana University. And I promise you one thing has not changed. Employers, even the best employers. I mean, we used to have McKinsey recruit. If you know what McKinsey is, it's a top management consulting firm. We used to have Bain recruit at Northwestern. Do they want good GPAs? Of course they do. Do they want internships and experience? Of course they do. But it is way better to have, you know, a 3.4 or a 3.5 and well-rounded student who has friends and experiences and stuff like that. They want that much more than they want the 4.0 who hasn't done much else. That hasn't changed in 20, 25 years.
Yeah, I'll actually echo that because I did an internship at Cat Stapper Miller, an accounting firm on the north side, and part of my interview with one of the partners was, he was like, you know what, like, what else do you do? It's not on your resume. And I start talking about other stuff I did at IUPUI. He's like, okay, but like outside of school, like, what do you do?
Right.
And so they really do want, and that was, you know, a partner, like one of the top partners at this accounting firm. Like, what else do you do? I'm like, okay, well, this is what I do outside of school. So, you know, he has had to pry a little bit because we're so used to, oh, I do this and I'm part of this club and do
I
this, which is
volunteer
great.
for homeless everywhere. It's like, okay, well, that's
Exactly.
great,
Yeah.
but it's like,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. So can that's from experience. I definitely can echo that. It's very important.
But it ties to business comm in the sense that people
Exactly.
want to work with people that they enjoy
Yes.
and that they trust. They don't want to work with people that they don't trust. They don't want to work with people that they don't, you know, they can't get along with. And again, it's not about being best friends with everyone you work with, not at all. But it's about being a normal person with, you know, normal, friendly relationships and, you know, folks to sit with at the lunch table. That's what they want.
Definitely.
Anything else? Words of wisdom from this old lady?
Have any? Nope.
I'm all wisdomed out.
It's okay. You did give us quite a few lessons, so.
I hope
We
so.
can count
At the
those.
very least, I showed you a fancy PowerPoint with a street.
It's very fancy. Very impressive. All righty. Well, if that is it, thank you so much again, Professor Murphy. We will, like I said, we're recording this so we can post this. So if anyone has friends that didn't get to come, we'll have that posted. And then probably Professor Murphy's contact, you can find it anywhere, but we can add it, like her email to the video and probably on Instagram. We'll talk to the comm team about that, or the digital marketing team about that. But yeah, thank you so much again.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So thank you everyone
You're
for
welcome.
joining. Yes.
Good
All
night,
right, thank
everybody.
you, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.